Right, hello, and thank you very much for having me today. I'm going to have to move around a little bit to get out of the way of the screen for you because I need to get to the laptop, but just shout if you can't see at all. So today I'm going to be talking to you about modern requirements of an e-commerce website, specifically Magento 2. Okay. Short introduction to myself. My name is Joseph McDermott. I'm a solutions architect at Clayvu, and we are an AI-powered search company. And I've got around about 8 to 10 years experience with working with Magento, with some of the best agencies in the UK. I've had the pleasure to work with, and I can see a lot of my old colleagues right in front of me here. So it's really nice to see some familiar faces. Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about search. Okay, and the importance of search, first of all, to introduce. Microsoft a recent study said you've got around 8 seconds to grab the attention of an internet user these days. So you need to start showing them something they're interested in between around 4 to 8 seconds. Furthermore, the longer time a user spends on your website, the less likely they are actually to buy something. Okay, so you can imagine if you go into a shop, a high street store, and you ask the shop assistant for some shoes. If they start showing you some stilettos they're not interested in, or if they start showing you some trousers or things you just don't want, eventually you're going to walk out of the store. You're going to assume they don't have what you want, and you're never going to come back to that store. Search is the fastest way to present a customer with what they're actually looking for on your website. However, the search results that you present must be relevant. Okay, and relevancy is going to be the focal topic on what I talk about today. Okay, so let's talk about how we actually get a relevant search result with Magento. So back in the good old days, search was very easy. Okay, in Magento 1, we had a grand total of 3 options to choose from in search. We had like, full text, or a combination of the two, and that was it. Okay, the search was very basic, and that was all you had to use. And search has actually moved on quite a long way now. So let's take a look at what we have in Magento 2. The current search solutions that we have are MySQL full text, Elasticsearch, marketplace extensions, and SaaS integrations. Now, as you can see on the top one here, MySQL full text has been deprecated in the latest version of Magento. So if any of you are running anything lower than Magento 2.3.1, you need to start thinking about moving your clients or moving your own website off to a different search solution. Magento is going to start. You'll start seeing a notice in your admin panel saying, "Don't use MySQL anymore." Okay, so I'm not going to talk about MySQL full text. I'm going to be focusing on these 3, starting with Elasticsearch. But on each of them, I'm going to be focusing on search relevancy, as I mentioned previously. So what does this mean? Search relevancy is how a search query is converted into results and what determines the order in which those results appear. Okay, so the first option that you have available in Magento is Elasticsearch, and this is what comes out of the box with Magento 2. So it's the new default search engine. It's got huge performance gains over MySQL. It's one of the most powerful open source search engines available. It's very easy to configure. However, Elasticsearch does need configuration and it needs ongoing maintenance. So you need a DevOps or sysadmin that knows what they're doing. If it goes down, they need to bring it back up. So it's an additional element of your stack that you need to look after. Okay, so I'm going to start talking about, I'm only going to look at the relevancy of Elasticsearch, but I want to introduce 2 features that Magento support in order to do so. The first feature that Elasticsearch has with the Magento implementation is synonyms. Now you can see straight away that there's a big notice if you look in Magento admin panel that says that Elasticsearch is not supported, but you can disregard this. This is just a notice that they put. It's actually a bug. Elasticsearch 5 and 6 do support synonyms. And at the bottom of this slide here, you can see I've set up an example synonym of shoe, trainer, and sneaker, and that's what I'm going to use in my example shortly, so just bear that in mind. The second feature that Magento Elasticsearch supports is attribute level boosting. Okay, so what that means is that in your product catalog, you can configure any attribute. So your color, your name, your description, anything you want, you can configure it to be included in the search calculation. And furthermore, you can add a priority of 1 to 10. Okay, and this is called a boosting. The default search weights that Magento comes with out of the box are, for SKU, you get 6, name 5, and description and all of the other attributes are 1. And out of the box, Magento only actually includes a few of the attributes for search. Okay, let's take a look at an example search query. So let's say we're searching on a Magento Elasticsearch instance for red shoe. First thing that happens is the synonyms are added. So now we're searching for red shoe, trainers, sneakers. Okay, Magento, so Elasticsearch doesn't care that the customer didn't type in trainers or sneakers. It's going to treat these 4 words with pretty much the same. It doesn't matter that the customer actually entered red shoe. It's looking for results for red shoe, trainers, and sneakers. Okay, and Elasticsearch is going to try and match products with at least one of red, shoe, trainers, or sneakers. Okay? So let's have a look at an example calculation then. If we have product A and product B, product A here we have red in the SKU, so the score for this is going to be boosted by 6. We have red in the name on product B, so that's going to be boosted by 5. And then in the description, we have both. We have shoe and trainer. Trainer was a synonym, but it'll get treated pretty much the same as shoe. So very oversimplified calculation here. You get a relevancy score for product A of 700, and you get a relevancy score of 600 for product B. So all that means is, when you search for red shoe, product A and B will both be included in the results, but product A will come first, and product B will come after it. Okay? And that's basically it. That's all a Magento Elasticsearch does. It's really quite basic, but you might be thinking that's great. We've got control over every attribute in our store. We can boost every attribute that we want, and we've got full control. So what's the problem? Let's take a look at an example search query. So these are the search results for red shoe. Now, as human beings, we can see that this customer is definitely looking for a shoe, specifically a red one. Elasticsearch doesn't know this. Elasticsearch it can't figure out that you're actually looking for a shoe. All it's trying to do is return red things, shoe things, sneaker things, trainer things. And you can see from the results here that at the bottom here we've got a trainer, which is tracked up fair enough. It's a synonym, and that you can see why it's been included, but it's not actually relevant to the search term. Second is a shoehorn because it contains the word shoe. Now, red trainer here is actually a really good result, and we're glad to see this. And this shoe, it's good that it's here, but it's blue. We didn't ask for a blue shoe. What we'd actually expect to see is this red shoe being number 1, this shoe being number 2. Maybe the shoehorn should be included because it's an accessory of relating to shoes, but the trainer definitely shouldn't be included here. Okay, just to give a brief summary of Elasticsearch then. So the native Magento Elasticsearch relevancy is very basic. So their implementation of Elasticsearch is quite basic. In fact, it's actually quite similar to how the MySQL full text works in terms of relevancy. Development is needed for any of the more useful features like fuzzy search for spelling corrections, or to include non-product content like CMS pages or blogs. You don't get any of this out of the box with Magento 2. Okay, and most importantly, Elasticsearch is just information retrieval. Okay, it will only return what you give it. So whatever product data that you give it, that's all you're going to get out. There's no learning involved. It won't enrich your data in any way. And similarly, there's the garbage in, garbage out concept. If you're putting garbage into your search index, you're only ever going to get garbage out. There's no way to enrich it with Elasticsearch on its own. It's just a data index. Okay, so Elasticsearch isn't terrible. It's quite useful for some scenarios, but let's have a look at what other options there are in marketplace extensions and SaaS integrations. So when we talk about marketplace extensions, I'm talking about what you can get on the Magento marketplace or directly from vendors themselves or open source for free. They're often inexpensive one-time purchases of around $100 to $150 or $200. You install them yourself. That woke me up. Hello. Can you still hear me? Okay, so you look after them yourself. You install them yourself as a module. And examples are Amnesty, Mirrors Fit, Wiremund, things like that. Is everyone okay? Okay. SaaS integrations, on the other hand, usually involves a remote server where your Magento instance will push products to a remote location, and they will index your data. And then when a customer makes a search, you will send that search query to the remote location, then they will figure out which products to return. They're usually subscription-based, and the cost varies from vendor to vendor, and as does the ease of installation. And examples of this are Clevu, like my company, SLI, Algolia. There's quite a few different vendors that provide these services. The key thing here is, though, the search relevancy features that I'm talking about today, they vary from vendor to vendor. So I'm going to talk about those topics rather than diving into what does Amnesty do and what does Clevu do and what does Mirasfit do. I'm just going to introduce the topics, the features that you might be interested in, and then you can make a decision for yourselves about which solution provider is right for you. Okay, so the first of these features I want to talk about is non-product search. And most marketplace extensions will include some form of this. For example, most marketplace extensions, you can get CMS page search out of Magento with them. You can sometimes get external blog search included, so that when you're searching on the Magento website, you also include a link to WordPress pages. On some of the more advanced ones, you can index custom entities like shop locator. So if you entered a search for a postcode, you might want to show some local stores. The marketplace extensions often include non-product search. However, the search relevancy calculation is often the same. So why does this matter? So product versus content. These marketplace extensions and some SaaS providers, you get the option to manage a stop words list. Now, stop words are functional words like and, in, of, when, that you might want to remove from a search term. So, for example, if you're making a product search, and you're looking for fancy shoes made of leather in brown, if we actually cross out these stop words, we end up with a really good search query, a really good keyword-based search query. And if you search for products with this, that's going to be a really good result because you've removed made of and in, which are going to they're going to negatively impact your search. However, content search can be less powerful without these stop words. For example, if you're searching for song lyrics or recipes, let's take an example query. The safety in the clouds out my window is a song lyric. But if you remove the stop words here, your actual result is safety clouds window. Now, if you were looking for the full string, you're more likely to match it. Once you remove over 50% of the words here, which are stop words, your content search is actually going to be less easy to actually match it to the article you're looking for. So just something to bear in mind when you're looking at non-product search, that don't just look at the feature set. You need to look at actually how the search is working. So if your merchant or if your own site or your client site has a lot of non-product content, have a think about how you actually want it to be searched. Okay, now things get a bit more interesting. Natural language processing. So search is evolving from keywords to more conversational, and consumers are getting much more used to these kind of search terms. And furthermore, consumers are starting to expect this in e-commerce websites. So we need to keep up the trend of e-commerce. E-commerce websites need to keep up with this kind of search. So let's take an example. Let's look at what a customer is looking for with 4 search terms. We have iPhone case, if you can see this. iPhone with case. Case for iPhone, and case of iPhones. Now, this is just 2 content words with 3 different stop words. And as a human being, I know that in this first one, the customer's looking for a case. In the second, he's looking for an iPhone. In the third, a case, and then a case of iPhone. So I can work that out as a human. But as a computer or a machine, or even as a Magento developer, to train a computer on how to do this, that's a pretty daunting task. We could have a go at it, though. Let's let's prioritize the words that the customer entered first. So if we try prioritizing the first word, iPhone, straight away we fail. iPhone with case, this one actually succeeded. The first word is what we're looking for. The third one, we get it, and the fourth, we don't. Okay, so if we flip it around and let's prioritize the word that the customer's entered last, obviously that's not going to work either because it's the opposite of the previous one. So let's try and get even more complicated then. How about let's prioritize the last word unless there's a stop word, and in which case let's prioritize the first word. So you can see this is already getting really complicated. And even that, only works in 3 out of the 4 cases. So I'm going to stop there because I'm just illustrating the point. You'll keep going on this, and you can build this algorithm, and you'll eventually find something that solves this case, and it'll solve the iPhone and case issue. But then what if you introduce more words? What if you introduce more stop words or different stop words? How will you handle those? The answer is you don't. You get someone else to do it, and that's what natural language processing is for. So you could give this search query to a service provider or a service that you install that can handle natural language processing. It will be able to determine exactly what this customer is looking for, and with some providers it will return you the relevant products, or it will return you what to look for in your search index. Another example of NLP is semantic query processing. So let's take a look at this long search query. So top-rated table lamp on sale under £200. So with semantic query processing, we can break this down. We can decompound table lamp into a table lamp, and now we know the customer is looking for a lamp. The customer is saying on sale, so we can add a filter here. Now price must be less than the was price. We have a subjective query at the start, top-rated. So we might say that the rating of this, we had a filter for the rating, it must be 4 or 5, or we say it must be in a particular category, like a top-rated category. And then finally, we have the price constraint pattern at the end, so we can add a filter here to show only products under £200. So with natural language processing, you can take this huge query, and the most important thing is you can find out that the customer is looking for a lamp. That's the most important thing. They want a lamp. Everything else is just filters. They're just kinds of lamps. And that's what NLP can do. Now, you might look at this and think it's ridiculous. No customer is going to search like this. It's overkill because you can just use keyword search. But consumers are being trained on how to do this all the time. So tools like Google Home and Alexa, they're training consumers how to search with their voice. It's not going to be long until consumers expect this level of search in e-commerce websites. And just to show this in action, if on the Witcher Sounds website, you can see the search for Bluetooth speakers in black, and you can actually see the filtering going on as you type. And that's a really pleasing experience as a customer to actually see the results being filtered. And you can see, and as a consumer, you're happy that the search knows what you're looking for. You're more likely to buy something if you can find it quickly. Okay, machine learning and artificial intelligence. So machine learning is driven by data, statistics, and analytics. For example, the search terms that a customer typed, the products that a customer clicked, or the orders that a customer placed. And machine learning can then use this data to make educated guesses about what you're looking for. For example, let's say that on this website, lots of people are searching for fancy shoe. Okay? And you track this data, you track what they click on, and you find out that all of these customers are clicking on this brown shoe, this wingtip shoe. So what do? You promote that product. You push that up your list. It's as simple as that, because your customer is saying, I searched for a fancy shoe, I clicked on this one, this is the product that relates to this search term. Your customers are telling you that information. Now, as merchants, you might think that you know best how to merchandise your website, and you might have a go at putting things in the right order that you think that customers are going to want to see. However, they're going to tell you how they want to use your search. So if you can use that data and reorder your products based on your customers' interactions, that's a powerful thing. Similarly, with checkout and sales analytics, if a customer searches for smart jacket for cold weather, and then they go on to purchase this product, that's even more powerful than a click. They've actually spent their hard-earned money on this product that they believe is related to smart jacket for cold weather. So in subsequent searches for cold weather jacket, we boost this product because they're telling you it's more relevant than the Lando gym jacket and the running jacket. Okay, so what about artificial intelligence? So artificial intelligence, so machine learning is part of AI, and so is deep learning, and it's all encompassed under this buzzword AI. But another example of deep learning is making connections that humans might not even consider. For example, an Everton fan is likely to buy an Everton shirt. We know this. Anybody can make that connection. However, is an Everton fan more or less likely to buy something else? So let's take an example. Customer A, he's male, he's 30, and he supports Everton FC. And he happens to buy the Yoga Adventure DVD. And then you're looking at your analytics. More customers are buying the Yoga Adventure DVD. and they're all Everton fans. So you're starting to think, what's the connection here? What's important? The answer is, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. The fact is your AI can use the data that it collects and it can make connections that you didn't even think were there. So it can take everything you give it about a customer, even things you thought were irrelevant, and it can cross-reference all of your customer base versus your catalog, and it can make these connections, and it can automatically boost products for your customers. Okay, personalization is the last feature that I'm going to introduce, but it's a very hot topic at the moment. Personalization is essentially applying machine learning and AI per customer. So for example, if customer A's baskets tend to be under £100 from looking at their checkout history, boost products that are less than £100 in their search results. If customer B has previously purchased Nike products, then let's boost products that are Nike because the customer's already committed to that brand, you know they're going to like them. If customer C has never even been on the website before, however, you know they entered the site with the search term fancy shoes, let's find another customer that searched for fancy shoes and see what they did. Apply that learning, and then later on, once you know more about customer C, you can start to fine-tune the personalizations for them. And the result is, customer A searches for fancy shoe, and straight away, he or she sees shoes that she's interested in. They're the right price, they're the right color, they're the right brand. Okay, they've searched for fancy shoe and straight away they're seeing products that they like because you know from their search history and their click history what they like. On exactly the same website, customer 2 searches for fancy shoe and he sees products that he likes. It's the right brand, it's the right color, it's the right price. Now, the search results for fancy shoe are identical if you go further down the list, but the products that are boosted to the top are the ones that are most relevant for these customers. And that's basically that's how personalization works in terms of ranking products in e-commerce. Now, I've only really scratched the surface there in terms of like modern features of search, but I want to bring this now back to the Magento aspect and what you can do with this information. So, back to the three options that you have. You have Elasticsearch out of the box, you have marketplace extensions, and you have SaaS integrations. Elasticsearch, you can see straight away, doesn't really give you that much in terms of advanced features. It's good for some people, but it doesn't give you anything like NLP or AI. Same with marketplace extensions. The red question mark means it's unlikely to find in a marketplace extension, but you might find some that do give it. And similarly with the SaaS integrations, not all SaaS integrations give you all of these features. So it really depends what's important to you and your clients or you as a merchant. I also want to focus on this bottom topic here, the relevancy responsibility. This is a particularly good one for agencies. So if your Magento website, your client's Magento website is running Elasticsearch or a marketplace extension, and your client comes to you and says, I searched for red shoe, I didn't get the result I was expecting. It's your responsibility to fix that and do the development work and find out why it's not working. If you use a SaaS integration, you can tell your client to go and speak to that vendor and basically takes you out of the loop. You can focus on your own work and your development work, and it removes a headache for you, quite a complicated headache in terms of search relevancy. Okay, and just one final slide. Search is hard, okay? It's very hard. Our CTO, for example, has a PhD in natural language processing, and he has 15 years applying that knowledge. Search is constantly evolving, so we've now got voice search, image search, who knows what could be next, and we constantly have to develop and innovate new ways of searching. But for you guys, there's no one size fits all solution. Okay, it really depends what's important on a client by client basis. Some merchants want full control over merchandising and they don't really care about AI. They don't care about NLP. All they want to do is know that when I search for this search term, these are the products I see in this order. And that's fine. Some merchants just want to let the search learn. They want to just start it off and let it run, and it will learn by itself, and you can just leave it. You can forget about it. But a lot of merchants just want better search, and that's it. They don't really know what that means. So hopefully with some of the topics that I've introduced to you today, you can at least start having that conversation with clients, or if you're a merchant, have that conversation with your own team and start to decide what's actually important to you and what's going to make it a better search. Okay, and that's basically it. Thank you very much for listening. I hope that's been a little bit interesting. But any questions?